This is the Wildcard group project. I know some people say, oh, yippee, it's a group project. And other people say, oh, no, there will be that one person. I get it. But here's what's coming when you get to a university level. There will be group projects. Get used to it now because that's what's coming. So, I have assigned a group project and I'm going to go over it with you. This is going to be a wonderful experience for you and your cyber cafe group. By now, I'm sure you've already acquainted yourself with that cyber cafe group. You're all getting along. Everybody's posting as they should be. If somebody isn't, then this needs to be the call to action to move forward. So, let's take a look at this assignment together. After you've watched this tutorial and looked over these options, you're going to log into your Cyber Cafe by going to the group project for Cyber Cafe. This will be your grade for essay number 2. Everyone is graded individually, and everyone is also graded as part of a group. So, 90% of your grade is your participation, 10% is your participation within that group. See? Isn't that wonderful? All right, now, you're going to log in and you have looked over these possible themes, which is not an exclusive list. If you and your group come up with something different that you'd like to do, I'm open. That's why it's called a wildcard essay. Because you're working in Cyber Cafe groups, you don't have to lock down any one particular theme for your project, because your group can work on the same kind of theme that another group is working on, and it's not a problem, because if anything sort of crosses over, it's going to pick up on 1,000 different little web spiders, so of course you won't do that, I know. All right, so here's some themes to think out. Remember, we are talking about early American literature to 1850-ish, and here are some ideas for a theme for your essay. And always, as remember, the theme comes down to something very simple, and then from there you go on to address that theme. First, I have history repeats itself. You would take the events of today, whatever events from today, from 2000, from 1962, I don't know, but you would take the events of modern history and you would connect those directly to something that happened during our time period. Yes, this is basically socioeconomic. It could have to do with economics. It could have to do with the law. It could have to do with religion, politics. But you are going to, the basic idea is that history repeats itself. And I've given each little topic a little link to give you a little kickstart, a little bit of ideas about that. What I gave you here was a bunch of little quotes. And if somebody has a quote that you think fits, then you would research that person, right? Because that would be something that would benefit your project. And the main thing, again, right now we're just picking the theme, so don't get out ahead of me, just stay with me. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. We can look at some of those Salem witch trials, the events that were going on where they had worked so hard to get away from being under the thumb of a king, and here they were. And what were they creating? All right, so that would be something where you would really delve into the politics and how religion affected that or whatever, but your idea would be to look at the corrupt side of the politics of that particular time period. Manifestations of meditation, if you want to go off on that little tangent with the transcendentalists, and so kind of go off into that world a little bit about how meditation began, then you wouldn't think, I don't know, it's interesting, but you do something with the whole idea of meditation. Transcendentalists. I know some people who practice transcendental meditation today. That sort of thing. Are there any of those truths self-evident and whatever? The truth is found in nature. Lots of literature during this time period, particularly from the Native Americans, about nature. And then Emerson's essays on nature. And then you might do something with that whole concept of where is truth and what was the truth for these people? What's the truth today? Is there anything that's the same? Feminist movement, We don't associate feminism very much with that time period now, do we? Those little girls had their little mouths pretty much shut, but a few people did come forward, and to the degree that they were able, what did women do within the framework of what was possible? And there you might want to look at the Scarlet Letter. You might want to look at that little Anne Bradstreet, our darling little girl who wrote apologetically about everything that she dared to write about. And remember, for women to write freely about their opinions in those days, when they are hanging witches, what do you think they're going to do to a woman who stands forth and slaps her husband or does something else and says, you can't talk to me that way? No Me Too movement's going on then. So you can imagine what might have been possible, and that is something that you would really delve into. The feminist movement as it applied then, and maybe connect that to today, something like that. Then I have couture, because that's kind of a fun way to go. It's difficult. It sounds easy, but it's not. So, how did clothing, the American style of clothing to the 1850s, dictate the narrative themes in literature? Remember, we're all buttoned up, aren't we? Everybody is buttoned up to the bottom of their chin. Men are wearing cravats. Men are wearing all kinds of things to cover up. And I think that that's an important possible connection to the themes that are stated in literature. So, what would you do there? You would you'd start with a historical perspective of the clothing attire, why they designed clothes that way, what were those clothes intended to project, and then you would connect that through the time, or you would connect that maybe to today. I think that you could do some interesting things with couture. And again, these are general topics. You would get into your cyber cafe and you would talk about these topic ideas with each other. Can you group email? Yes. Can you do a phone call where you do a conference call and you all talk on the phone? Yes. There's not much of a way within Canvas for you to do anything other than the cyber cafe in real time, other than a Google Doc. So, but you can connect with each other however you need. Now, if somebody just absolutely, I'm going to pause right here, right now. If somebody in your group absolutely will not communicate back with you, we have a short semester, we have a long way to go and a short time to get there. If somebody in your group is not participating and not getting back to anybody, you need to send me a one-line email. This is one sentence. And the sentence reads, so-and-so in our group, no one will know that you sent me the email. Our email is completely between you and me. You would say, so-and-so has not participated in our conference. We have not heard from that person in 36 hours. And when time is of the essence, 24 hours is a long time. So you're going to be logging into that cyber cafe 2-3 times a day during this process to make sure that you've gotten comments back and that you've done that. Set your clock. You're going to check into Cyber Cafe in the morning, check it in the afternoon sometime, and check it in the evening, and make sure that your posts are current. If somebody falls behind, you would let me know. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to lose that person from your group, and I'm going to give that person a singular assignment for just themselves. That's not an option for you. So you can't get into this and think, I'd rather do something by myself. I don't really want to do something with a group. They're not going to let you do that at the university level, and we can't do that here. If someone is not participating in a group project, that means that their grade for that part of this project is at a 0. Having that person do an assignment individually is a last-ditch effort to give that opportunity to do something. But that grade's not going to be pretty, and it's going to be filled with all kinds of penalties. So, most important, get with your group, get a good attitude, and move on with this. Share ideas, come up with thoughts, go to the library. Remember, let's take a minute and look at our library resources. If it was me and my group, this would be the first thing I would do, is have one of our group members contact the librarian and get somebody on our team who can help us with this particular project. We have this in the resources for our Start Here menu in the course, but just to remind you, the Ask a Librarian and get somebody on your team to help you if you feel like you need that. And they are so wonderful at this school. You should never take this for granted. All right, back to the plan. Right off the bat, and we're not going to spend any time laboring this, one group member is going to set up the Google Doc. Each of your group members is going to be registered. You're going to send me in one email the link and the password to that Google Doc. That way I can evaluate each person. What happens in a Google Doc, if you haven't used one already, is when you log in and you add comments or you add notes, it shows up in the right-hand column with a little bubble over it that has your name. And I can easily see what you contributed to the content of this essay. So make sure you get that set up. Get one member designated to set up the Google Doc. Make sure everybody has access to that. Next, one group member is going to create the skeleton proposal, which looks just like this, and that one person is going to write the group statement. So the little proposal thing is you have a working title, you have an image, you have a theme, either the ones from that list that I just showed you, or perhaps you all have come up with something you'd like to study that you connect with and the other members of your group would like to do the same. Your group members, be a little list of those names, project statement, and the project statement always says we've chosen to examine whatever it is that you're examining in the following ways. Section 1, Section 2, Section 3. And then you're going to have your little essay outline, and this of course will be filled in. This is just a skeleton. You will have two people who will be completing this outline. And so this will be completed as you've seen the other outline tutorials that I've given you in the course. Now it's time to write the six-section essay. 2 to 3 members will write both the introduction and conclusion. So what will you need to provide to those people? 1 to 2 sentences about your section. And then those people have that information, and they will write the introduction that includes the sentences you provide to them about Section 1, Section 2, and Section 3. The Section 2 is the definition of terms. This means that you will assume that your reader has a working knowledge of the United States of America. Beyond that, you need to tell them what you are talking about. If it's politics, which politicians, where did they meet? The Section 2 can be 2, sometimes 3 paragraphs. You will define the terms that I will be reading, and whoever your reader is would be reading, in the rest of your document. Now, you've organized your essay into 3 different strategies. One person will write the second section. The next person will write the first section. Next person will write the second section. Third person, and then of course you have your 2 people who have completed the conclusion and the introduction. So for your part, you would send to these 2 people sentences from your section that explain what it is that you are describing or evaluating. And you will send them 1 to 2 sentences for their conclusion, which is, what did all of that work that you did on that particular section indicate? So now you have 2 to 3 people writing the introduction and conclusion. One group member does the definition of terms, and that could be 2 or 3 paragraphs. Remember, your paragraphs should be contain a topic sentence and should be about 8 sentences long, no longer than 9 sentences. You don't want some big long thing. You want it to all be really nice and compact and well organized. One group member writes the first section, second section, and third section. Right? So now you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 group members involved. If your group should happen to contain 7 members, then you have that 7th member that you can add into one of these other sections if it's becoming too long. Remember, you don't want anybody out there without equal participation in the project, because that means that that person, because you do receive individual grades, would get a very low grade. Each one of the sections contains 1 to 3 images. The introduction includes 1 or 2 images, the conclusion 1 or 2 images, and this is your section. You select the images. So if you have a 7th person in your group, you can't say, oh, you just go pick out the pictures. No, it doesn't work that way. You know it doesn't. Okay. Now, when each person has added your content, you're going to have a rough draft. And it's going to be a rough draft because the person in the section has submitted their content, and now everybody's content is in the same document, which is a good feeling, but it's also kind of messy. And then each person will go in and find the errors and fix the essay. Each time you go in and make an edit, of course, it will show in a little bubble on that right-hand column, and I'll be able to see what you changed and what you participated in the actual writing of content. Make sure all images are sharp. They're the exact same size, same color palette, same framing. Add the word count, including a calculation of all drafts. This is going to be a biggie, so you're going to have somebody that calculates your word count. I'm not going to check on it. I'm not going to ask you. It should be probably by the time you've done the drafts, you've gone in, you've worked on your stuff, submitted your stuff, the group has worked on their stuff, submitted their stuff. I'm guessing it's about 5,000 words by the time it's all done. All things added up. Your final essay maybe will be 2,000 words, and then all the drafts that you did prior to that, so you calculate that. You're going to create a title page with each person's name. You'll carefully check the EasyBib Works Cited page, create the Word doc, and add that to the end of your essay. Do not ever use the Google option. It always messes up. Never have I seen it not. So let's look at that EasyBib together real quick. You're going to create one Gmail email account for your group, and that's what you'll use to sign up for EasyBib. I don't want you to use your own EasyBib account. That should be your personal account with your projects. So just sign up for with a different email that everybody can get into. I don't need to get into that. All right, so now you have your citations. Of course, there's going to be a million of them because every person came in there every time they worked on something, and they came in here and they added their citation to the list. When you're working on your part of the project, every time you open a page, you come over here and you add it to the citations. So you're going to obviously have a nice long list. And then you will go through, you'll check everything, and then of course you'll click export, and you will export it to a Word doc. Do not export it as a Google Doc, ever. Always do it to a Google Doc. Export. That's going to open the little document in your tray. Now, it's only going to take one person to do this. This is an easy process, and you've done it by now, so you know it's an easy process. Okay, so here comes the works cited. You're going to enable editing, and then in the Google Doc that you created, you'll be able to copy this and paste it to the bottom of your Google Doc that you're working on for the essay. I know you're going from a Word document to a Google Doc, but I promise you, from years and years and years of experience with this, you'll be so happy when you do it this way. Give it one last little look, and then of course you'll save that as a PDF. You're going to save all of this that you've done in one document. One document. Save the whole thing as a PDF, and then you'll go in and you'll submit that. And it will show up in everybody's Cyber Cafe. Right? So, in my grade center, you and your group, when you submit this, it will show up everybody's identity, right? Okay. So you don't have to worry about not getting credit for the work you did. You don't need to email me and say, did I get credited for the work I did? Because the answer will be yes. And if it wasn't yes, I would have contacted you and let you know. Okay, so here's what your essay is going to look like. We have our pretty names up here. We'll add our course information, the date, we'll add our word counts, right? That's what your title page looks like. People's names listed, just like this. Yes? Then we have your title, and I just made up a title, and I decided to include my images. They're all going to be in this sepia tone, and they're all going to have this same little frame around them. Now, what I want you to do when you create the essay is go ahead and create it in sections. Each section will be identified. There's the introduction. I just added random text in here, right? Next will be section 1, definition of terms. Somebody will have written that. Then we have section 2, section 3, section 4, and the conclusion. Below that we have works cited, and that'll of course go on and on and on, right? So it'll all be filled out pretty like this. Each section has 1 or 2 images. This PDF is here in the course, right? Get it? I know you do. Let's take a nice deep breath and get ready to do this assignment. I really want this to be fun, and here are the things that you will learn if you haven't already, and you're getting ready to learn them in a big way when you get to a university level. And that is, some of the members of your group will have strength in one area, and other members of your group will have strength in another. Somebody will always emerge as the one who likes to organize the outline and likes to get everything in order. That's a wonderful person in the group. Somebody in the group is also going to be an excellent writer. They're going to be really good at making sure that sentences connect to the next sentence, that everything is logical, that a paragraph has a topic sentence, that there aren't any long, drawn-out paragraphs, right? Because you're going to have quotes in your essay. Remember, I'm going to put in this module that how to quote sources, because remember, we don't know anything except what we know in our world. So you're going to have lots of quotes, you're going to have lots of references, and you're going to make sure that there's no plagiarism in there. And there's one person, that would be me in the group, who is an absolute wonder when it comes to plagiarism. People love me in a group because I'm the one that makes sure nothing gets by without a citation. And remember, 33% of your paper should be quoted sources, right? And the rest of the paper should be written in your own words. So you make a statement, you indicate what needs to be proven, you have a quote that proves that statement, then you have a sentence in your own words that tells you what that statement just proved, and you move on. Next point, right? Okay, so I want you to have a good time with this. And again, this is going to be a fast-paced assignment because of the length of the course. Yes, I wish we had 15 weeks. Oh my goodness, I can't tell you how much I wish we had 15 weeks, but we don't. We have just a short amount of time, so everybody needs to be on board. Everybody needs to have a great attitude, and everybody needs to check that Cyber Cafe 3 times a day till this assignment is over. Then you get a little break from the Cyber Cafe, but for this time period, everybody needs to check in. Now, you can, again, plan to communicate with each other in a conference phone call. I think that's a good idea sometimes. But If you start emailing information back and forth, somebody's out of the loop. So the students that I've seen that do really well in this, when they create the Google Doc, they have a top page that has announcements, or they have it labeled as something. So when people come in, they immediately go to that page first. That, of course, will be eliminated from the final essay that they're going to turn in, but that is their notes page. Somebody comes in and says, I'm Debbie Hall. I logged in at 8 p.m. and I made corrections to section 2. Everybody knows somebody was in there. Everybody knows what happened. And nobody's out there going, wait a minute, somebody texted something back and forth, or they emailed something back and forth, and I don't know what they were doing, because they have that Google Doc that is their only source outside of a phone call. That's their only source of communication. And so everybody logs in, everybody charts what they did, and it's a beautiful thing, because you don't want group members not knowing what's happening. But of course you will go off, once you get your section, off you go to work on that section. And you'll research, and you'll spend time with the librarian. You can call the librarian and say, we have a group project, and this is what we're working on, and what resources do you think you could help us find? They love that. And not all campuses are like that, kids. Let me promise you they aren't. But our campus is. So take advantage of that. Enjoy listening to what the librarians have to say. I just love them. I think they're wonderful. And make sure, again, before you print out that final one, before you save that final PDF, that everything in there is all beautifully organized. The pictures are gorgeous. The sentences are all well written. You've got 6 or 7 people editing one essay. I think you should probably be able to pick up on any grammatical errors by reading that content out loud. And I want you to have a good time with this. I want it to be something that you're proud of. I can tell you that over the years, some students have been very, very proud of the work that they've done. And I had students that even submitted one essay to, I believe it was Ball State University, or it was one of those university presses that actually published their work. It was so wonderful, because when you work together with a great attitude, you will discover each person in the group's brilliance. And each person in the group does have something to bring to the table. Everybody does. The true mark of a great group is finding the strengths of the members of your group and letting that be where they work. Again, if somebody does not log in to your cyber cafe in 36 hours and you haven't heard from them and they haven't logged into the Google Doc, you need to email me with one sentence, simply the person's name, when the last time they logged in, what they haven't done, and I'll take it from there. You don't need to do anything else. All right? Because I have access. I can see what you're doing in the Cyber Cafe. I can see what you're doing in the Google Doc. You've sent me the login. So it's not anything that you needed to feel like you're a tattletale on, because as soon as you tell me that, I will go and check. I'll be checking on your cyber cafes and that kind of thing. So we'll work together on this and make sure that everybody in your group is accountable and enjoys this process. Right? Okay, let's have a good time with this. And that concludes this tutorial on the Wildcard Essay Number 2 project.